There is a dog under your table. Her chin is resting on your foot, and the weight of her head is warm through your sock. On the plate above her there is bacon. You will give her a piece because you love her, and you will eat the rest because you are hungry. Two animals are in this room with you right now. One of them is family, and one of them is breakfast. And you did not decide that this morning. It was decided long before you sat down. The frightening part is not that the line exists. The frightening part is what your mind had to do to you quietly so that you could cross that line every day without ever feeling it under your feet. Before any of that, the measurable part. In 2015, Lori Marino and Christina Colvin published a comparative review of the domestic pig in the International Journal of Comparative Psychology. They gathered what the research actually shows rather than what the farm implies. Pigs are cognitively complex. They discriminate between objects. They hold spatial information and use it. They track other individuals socially, and they share a long list of traits with the animals we are perfectly comfortable calling intelligent. None of that is a claim about their souls. It is a claim about what they can be measured doing. Now notice the asymmetry, because the asymmetry is the whole video. A dog gets recognized as a thinking companion almost automatically. Nobody asks you for evidence. A pig arrives with comparable evidence of social and emotional capacity and receives a fraction of the credit. Hold that gap open in your head for a second, because nothing inside the animal explains it. The data sits on the table for both of them. Only one of them is on the plate. So the obvious explanation is that you eat the one who feels less. In 2011, Boyka Bratanova, Steve Loughnan, and Loughnan Bastian tested that directly in the journal Appetite. 80 people read a short passage about an animal in a distant country, Bennett's tree kangaroo, in Papua New Guinea. The passages were nearly identical. What the researchers varied was whether the animal was described as food, whether it was killed, and who was responsible for its death. One line about local people collecting the animal to eat was enough. The readers who saw it judged the tree kangaroo less able to suffer. Say that back to yourself slowly. The animal did not change. No new fact about its nervous system arrived. A sentence arrived, and the capacity to suffer went down. Now it gets harder, because you might assume this is ignorance, the kind of thing a good documentary could fix. It is not ignorance. In 2016, Jared Piazza and Steve Loughnan showed that information about an animal's intelligence carries less weight in your moral judgment when that animal is food. You can be told the pig is smart. You will hear it, you will understand it, and you will file it somewhere it cannot reach you. Notice that the filter is selective. You have no difficulty at all holding on to how clever your dog is. You will bring it up unprompted to strangers. The same fact about the same kind of mind moves freely in one direction and gets stopped at the door in the other. And the thing deciding which is not the evidence. It is the plate. And then the direction of the whole thing flips. In 2012, Loughnan Bastian and his colleagues published 3 studies in Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. In the third, people who were expecting to eat meat shortly denied more mind to food animals, and that denial then lowered their own negative feelings. Read the order of those events again. The appetite comes first. The judgment about the animal's inner life arrives afterward, sized to fit the appetite. Then the discomfort drops, which means this is not a belief you hold about pigs. It is a dose you take, and something in you knows exactly when you need one. If that sounds like the sort of psychology finding that evaporates the moment somebody checks it, it was checked. In 2024, Tyler Jacobs and his co-authors ran a high-powered replication with roughly 1,000 people and recovered the original result. The more mind you see in an animal, the less edible that animal looks to you. The relationship held at almost exactly the strength reported 13 years earlier. Now give the other side its strongest version, because it has one. In 2015, Jared Piazza and a team of researchers cataloged the reasons people actually offer for eating meat, again in Appetite, and found that 4 of them account for between 83 and 91% of every justification given. Natural, normal, necessary, nice. Necessary was the largest category of all. Look at that list and notice what is missing. Not one of those 4 requires you to believe a pig is stupid, which opens a serious possibility. Maybe the mind denial is not the engine at all. Maybe the categories were fixed centuries ago by forces with nothing to do with your psychology. Which animals could be penned? Which ones bred fast enough to be worth feeding? Which ones were cheap? And everything happening inside your head is paperwork filed long after the decision was made by someone who died before your grandparents were born. Push on that objection, and it does not fall apart. It gets worse. To separate the two explanations cleanly, you would need a culture that assigned its food categories at random, and then you would watch what happened to the minds of the animals inside those categories. No such culture has ever existed. Every line ever drawn between the loved and the eaten came preloaded with history before anyone alive was born into it. You are standing inside the thing you are trying to measure, holding a fork. Turn it over, though, and the mechanism stops looking like a failure. You have been treating it as a flaw, a bug, in an otherwise decent person. Consider the opposite. You are an animal that survives by cooperating, which means you cannot afford to experience yourself as cruel. You also live in a world that has always required costly things to be done to other living beings so that you can keep eating. Something has to absorb that contradiction. The lowering of the mind is what absorbs it. It is not sentimentality, and it is not stupidity, it is load-bearing. And it works so well that it does not feel like anything at all. It feels like simply looking at a pig. Summer of 2012, Southern Ontario. A man named Steve Jenkins gets a message from someone he used to know. She has a piglet she cannot keep. It is a micro pig, she tells him. It will stop at around 70 pounds. The piglet weighs 4 pounds and lies along his forearm. He takes her home without asking his partner Derek Walter first. They call her Esther. She was born on the 1st of July that year, on a commercial pig farm. She was not a micro pig. She was an ordinary farm pig, and no one had told them. At 6 months, she has outgrown the dog beds. By 2 years, she weighs 600 pounds and sleeps on a mattress on the floor of a suburban house that no longer fits around her. In 2014, the two men buy a farm in Campbellville, Ontario, open a sanctuary, and name it after her. She lives there until the 18th of October, 2023. She is 11 years old. Here's the only detail that matters. Every pig in the barn Esther was born in was the same animal Esther was. Same species, same litter, same capacities the 2015 review describes. One of them ended up attached to a message from a friend on Facebook. The others got a category, and the category held. So be careful what you do with this in both directions. Nothing here proves a pig is a person, and nothing here hands you permission either. What the research shows is narrower and stranger than either of those comforts. It shows that your reading of an animal's inner life moves with your plate, and that you cannot feel it moving while it moves. And this was never really about food. The same machinery is available anywhere a group has to do something expensive to someone else. The lowering of the mind comes first, quietly, and it never announces itself as a decision. It arrives dressed as observation. It feels like noticing something that was simply true about them all along. Your hand is still on the dog's head. The fork is still in the other one. Both animals were in the room the entire time, and only one of them was ever going to be looked at. The question was never which of them deserves it. The question is how many other things you have already put in a box, so that you can go on being the person you believe you are.